Well, Lord Gideon Grey, thank you so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. It's an absolute pleasure to have you here. It's someone we've wanted to get on for a while because of all the stuff you've had going on recently. I think we've got to start in the most obvious place, which is the fact you returned to BritRest recently in the last few months from your trip to Japan. How was Japan? How did that all come about, firstly, and how was that whole experience?
Well, it's been on the cards for a little while now, my excursion out there, but a few things kept me from going, but I can't go too much into the details of how it originated.
Okay.
Because that's, spoiling things slightly.
No, sure. Trade secrets, I understand.
Of course. But I was very happy to receive an invitation out there. Getting a visa was a bit of a hassle, but that was wonderful stuff. And it was, absolutely... I feel I've made it very clear in my career how much disdain I have for this country, as far as it goes from respecting the talent in the ring and everything. You know how it is.
Yeah.
Out there, absolutely wonderful. I couldn't complain in the slightest. Everyone was thrilled. Everyone was very respectful. And, at the end of the day, that's truly what matters in life.
Absolutely. I feel like the crowds over here, they don't respect Gideon the way they should. I feel like you don't get that over here. You get booed a lot, and I imagine the Japanese crowd were a lot more grateful to have you there.
I definitely felt it. I felt they really understood where I was from. And maybe that's something that England isn't that great at, perhaps not the most understanding nation, but it is what it is. And yeah, it was lovely over there. It's terrible here, but I'm used to that. What can I say? I
was going to say, was it hard then to come back? Because normally we say to people if they've been away to Japan or America for trips and wrestling that it's good to come back. But was it the opposite then for you? Was it tough to come back, trying to...
where I fortunately was in the situation of going out on several tours in a short space of time, I didn't really have time to think, is it difficult coming back? Is it wonderful coming back? I will say the time since I was last out there, this has been somewhat of a transitional time. I've got a lot of balls in the air. I've been focusing on a lot of things. So wherever I am, I'm normally quite busy. So I'm constantly not in a position to reflect and think, oh, I really do miss this, or, oh, that's been good. It's just work as far as I'm concerned, and I'm focused on getting what I want to achieve achieved.
Absolutely, that's most important. And in terms of that, again, back out to Japan, I mean, you've been sort of like, obviously a great wrestler, but also like a manager to some great names on the scene, especially over here in British wrestling. But over there, in charge of the United Empire, basically the leader, I think, really, of the United Empire.
I disagree with that just because the United Empire doesn't have a leader. Think of it as a round circle of like-minded individuals.
Right.
Anyone in the United Empire suggests an idea, puts an idea forward, everyone's going to treat it with the same respect that they would anyone else. And if there was a leader, I believe everyone acknowledges it would be Great Khan.
Yeah, no, to be fair.
Of course.
Absolutely. But I mean, in terms of that experience, working with those guys, again, like sort of week in, week out, I can imagine, like, again, you sort of learn so much, but also just getting to be a part of that, working with those guys is like, I imagine, just pretty cool. Getting to see like what they're doing up close in the ring every single night is pretty spectacular.
It's definitely it's eye-opening for me in certain ways. I'm constantly scouting people, constantly looking at things. I don't view myself as a manager per se. I'm more of a friendly advice giver for the people that I go out there with. So yeah, watching Davis up close, for example, is always beautiful. It's the small things in wrestling that I absolutely love. And he does a old head mare rather than a headlock takeover. Every time I see it, I just, absolutely gorgeous. Every single person in the United Empire has like one or two tiny little things that they do that just, as I'm watching from ringside, I truly enjoy seeing.
Yeah, absolutely. How could you not, right? How could you not? I mean, like, are there moments in there where, and I'll ask this in a sort of weird way, but is there moments in there when you're like, you almost lose yourself character-wise as Gideon Grey, and like you're in that moment seeing them do stuff, and you're like, oh, holy shit, like.
See, that's tricky because the character and Gideon himself intertwined. It's the same person. So there are absolutely moments where I am more concerned about the health of the person in there. I believe Will went against Finlay, and he was knocked out during that match. He gone. So when you see, if you watch it back, you'll see me check on him. That was genuinely worrying for me. That person that I've seconded in this match was in that position where there was, when I came in straight after the match, there was nobody home. Asked me where he was. I had to explain to him which venue he was in, what he'd just done. He was gone. It was a worrying moment, but it happens in wrestling, so it's one of those things, unfortunately.
No, sure, but there's also positives as well. There's also great moments as well, isn't there? I mean, the likes of Will and Carlin Davis and all the other members of the United Empire. I mean, like some of the stuff they pull off is just spectacular.
Oh, absolutely. Look, again, I will say, all wrestling comes with its various degrees of risk, and the higher risk things that are more crowd pleasing. I tend to. I always see the people in those moments as, these are people, this is incredibly risky, and it's not going to go wrong. It's not. But if it does, then what is the plan after that goes wrong? What can we do immediately in this situation to make sure that as little damage to the people in the ring is done? So when I see people, Davis doing a second rope pile driver, when I see these things, I'm not necessarily going, oh my God, what a spectacular move. I'm more going, oh my God, what can I do if this goes horribly wrong? What is the next step? So to me, it's more of a be prepared at any eventuality to step in and help. Because it truly is, even the most simple things in wrestling are not risk-free, shall we say.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I'm sure they must have at some point tried to coerce you, especially Carl and Will, the stuff they do, the high-flying stuff. They must have tried to get you to do some of that at some point, right? Like, we're talking like Canadian destroyers, things like that.
So, we go back to the things that I cannot say because there are secrets that may, in the course of time, be unveiled, but I'm no stranger to certain things. Whether I will ever do those in front of people in a live basis, who knows?
Sure.
I don't necessarily feel the need to, so I'm happy with what I do. If I actually need to do some things, I've got some things in the tank that will maybe be pulled out, but case by case.
No, sure. And similarly, I just got to know, in terms of like a peek behind that curtain, because like you say, a lot of great wrestlers in the United Empire. A lot of, I don't want to say like big egos, but big characters, people who can do some wild stuff, some crazy shit. Was there ever like a sense of like the guys in the ring trying to one-up each other in the ring, being like, oh, you've done that, I'm going to do this tonight?
So, I will say, not normally. Within the United Empire itself, everyone's just treats each other like family. The only time that it comes to, I'm going to try to one-up you, no, I'm going to try to one-up you, no, I'm going to try to one-up you, is when we've had those United Empire versus United Empire moments. Because that is when it goes, oh, Mark Davis and Carl Fletcher going, we're the greatest tag team in the world. Henare and O'Khan going, well, also, don't forget we're good, and then I feel that's a truly special thing, because you see other factions facing each other, and it's unique, it's interesting, it's fun, it's something to see. But when you have that element of, no, this is like my brother that I'm now going to just show his ass a little bit in front of the world and make him remember this 10 years down the line when I go, hey, I still beat you, right? When you get that element in as well, then it becomes something truly special. I think the best match that I have seen live was Great O'Khan and Aaron Hanare versus Aussie Open. It was just the whole moments were just amazing, and everyone was fighting not just to get points in the World Tag League at that point. It genuinely was they're fighting to be able to say that they've won up to the others, essentially.
Yeah, no, sure. And as well, I'm sure you probably can't give anything away, and I guess there are certain people who you'll understand who I mean when I get to the end of this question, who won't want us to give anything away. But, I mean, I'm sure a lot of fans have got their fingers crossed that there will be some extra United Empire coming over to the UK over AEW weekend for RevPro's 11th anniversary, which is... Obviously, I just want to get your take, not on necessarily that, because I'm sure you wouldn't be able to say if there was, but just on the show as a whole. Obviously, huge show, RevPro, announcing the Copper Box, which is massive venue. Obviously, was for Royal Quest was the venue, and you that's got to be so cool to hear and to see, and hopefully for yourself and a few more members if we get them to be a part of, because obviously I know Will's already been announced.
I can't go into details about things that may or may not happen. There are fluctuating circumstances in every case. It might not be a Saturday we see people, it might not be a Sunday we see. Who knows? Who knows what will happen in the fullness of time? But yeah, absolutely. For RevPro, going from York Hall to the Copper Box is a massive step. For Andy Quilden, it's a huge step up. And it just shows the confidence that he has in not only the talent that he can draw from overseas, like Shingo Takagi, but also the interest that there will be at that time in the product that he puts on, in the pure British wrestling. It's been said time and time again, the slogan of the company is pro wrestling at its best. And within the confines of what is feasible within the UK, I firmly believe that that is an apt slogan to have.
Yeah.
Doesn't get any better, and I think British wrestling has deserved to be on a bigger stage than it has been for a long time. Absolutely.
And I mean, in terms of like just pure size, it's probably the biggest British promotion show in terms of pure size since pre-pandemic when Wembley did when Progress did Wembley Arena. Like, this is a big deal. This is a huge show and like a big moment for RevPro as well, especially considering like the fact that a lot of other promotions are running that weekend.
Are they?
Are they really? Who are they? Right?
You know, it is what it is. There are certainly promotions that will try to compete with what is happening on that day, and there won't be anyone trying to compete on the next day, let's be honest. But that day there are a few people that think, we have faith in our product, it's other people's worry, let them worry about it. And then maybe now, upon seeing the first match announced, maybe seeing another few announced in short time, I think that will be a case of maybe we should have not done that and gone again. But, it is what it is. I wish truly everyone, the greatest of luck over that weekend in regards to their shows, because what's good for one company is good for all companies, as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely, and that's the thing, isn't it? In the fact that, aside from just RevPro, it's good for British wrestling because you've got this, 70, 80,000 who are going to be over here for All In. But over that weekend, they're wrestling fans, right? They're going to want to see wrestling. They're going to want to go out and see what these British promotions have to offer. And if we can put our best on it, that just shines the scene on a whole new light.
Absolutely. And I think it truly is so important that there is the variety there as well. I think Pro Wrestling Eve were thinking of running a show over there. I'm sure they will. But having different stars on that, different stars on the GCW show if they choose to use English people, which, who knows? Different people on Progress because they can't be at RevPro, and different people on RevPro. Just having every different name as possible be highlighted in some way over that weekend, I feel will just, again, there's always going to be one person that captures someone's attention, and that's how it grows.
Yeah, absolutely. What about for you, as a little tangent, because you mentioned that, I'm going to ask, what about for you on the British scene now, since coming back from Japan, since the pandemic's been over? Because there are a lot of names that I think have got pushes that they wouldn't necessarily have got if the pandemic hadn't happened, if wrestling hadn't shut down. People who were probably low, maybe mid-card, who have been elevated to the top of those cards. And then, again, going down from that, people who weren't even on cards, who were getting those shots on bigger shows that they might not have got shots on. Who are the ones that have impressed Gideon Grey coming back? Who are the ones that you look at and you're like, those are the show stealers. These are the next guys that are going to be the next big thing in BritWres?
So this is a tricky question. There are a lot of people that have escaped the mid-card during the pandemic, and a lot of guys have stepped up into future roles. I think it's obvious if you watch RevPro who is being positioned in such a way that they will be the next people to take that opportunity to show that they can sit in that main event. I'm personally, I am interested in not only those people, but the generation after who's coming up that will be good enough to step in those places. You've got people like Jordan Breaks, who's been around for a while now. I faced him in Riptide a couple of times. His just dedication to sticking to a style of wrestling that's not used really impressed me. And I think that he's got a very high ceiling on him. Rain, I'm not even going to try to pronounce her last name. I am terrible at it.
Rain Leverkusen.
That's the last.
Who you faced in Resurgence, didn't you?
I did, yes. And while I may not have been the most polite person while at Resurgence, the sky's the limit for her. I mean, I cannot speak highly enough of her work. To think that she's been doing it for as short a time as she has is absolutely mind-blowing, because I've seen people that have been doing it for decades that don't have it. You know, she's just come in and naturally understood what she is, how to perform in such a way, how her body works. Like, everything there is things that you can work with and just improve and improve and improve. The sky's the limit. There are a couple of people coming up that people might not necessarily know. Your Will Caven, he's got a very high upside. I rate him very highly. You've got Liam Judd, who's one of the trainees at the Portsmouth School of Wrestling. He's tremendous. You've got Maya Matthews, who's just a tremendous talent as well. Like, I feel it's always the responsibility of the people that are in it at the moment to leave it in a better place for the next generation and to help the next generation improve to such a degree that they just make us obsolete, essentially. And I very much hope that it will continue to do so.
Absolutely. Like you say, there's plenty of talent, even like ones that you didn't mention there. There's so much talent we could name coming through, and it just makes you hopeful for the future of British wrestling to know that talent's coming through. I want to get on a couple of things you've mentioned there. The first was I had down to ask you about Rain, about Resurgence, because that was your Resurgence debut, right?
Yes.
That surprised me, just as someone who, again, like for yourself, who's been on the scene so long and Resurgence been going so long. It just must be cool to still get those like debuts, those moments that you haven't yet had at companies that you've not yet appeared at.
So, in a business sense for wrestling, I am a terrible person. I would be in a lot better place if I was more active in what I should be doing as a professional wrestler, of reaching out to people and saying, hey, this is me, I don't do that. I have, ever since I started, I've always been, if people want me, they'll come to me. And I've very rarely, I think, there's one place I've reached out to recently for who knows what will happen now. I won't give anything.
Sure.
But I've reached out to one place recently, but normally it's very much been a case of, again, if you want me, people will figure out how to find me. And yeah, the people that ran Resurgence got in touch, and they were very, very welcoming, very great to talk to. And yeah, it's nice when that happens, because again, it doesn't happen a lot. There's quite a lot of places in the UK, some places that will reach out and then say, we can't meet the compensation that you're expecting for this, to which I wish them, good luck with the show. Afraid we couldn't work anything out, but it happens. But when the stars align and things do go, it is always very nice to come up, see a new audience, meet people I haven't necessarily seen before because they work in different areas. It's a wonderful feeling to go somewhere new.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I wanted to get onto there was Jordan Breaks, who you mentioned. Because I remember seeing you face him at Riptide, as you'll be able to tell by my shirt, Brighton.
Yeah.
So I used to live in Brighton. I live in London now, but I used to live in Brighton. So I was a regular at Riptide. And they put on like some great shows. Again, like Jordan, great wrestler. And like you say, like you sort of picked up on, like, you don't see many people go for that style that Jordan has anymore. It's sort of like wrestling's moved a little away from that style now in the sort of era it's in. But he's stuck to it, and he's such a master at it now. Like, he's absolutely phenomenal at what he does.
It's definitely, it's a style you don't see. It's a style I personally, I'm a big fan of. There are elements of it that, so I love, I'm making no secret, I love Billy Robinson's style of wrestling. I love catch wrestling. I'd love to have been in a position where I could learn it, because again, I am very terrible at that side of the business. But I watch the Billy Robinson DVDs. I teach myself the techniques. I watch everything I can to try and learn that, and see that World of Sport meets that style start to be showcased, and start just to have someone who's like, I don't care. I don't care what people like, this is what I'm doing. To have the confidence in that, I think, is a fantastic attribute. And it's kind of, it's awkward in a way. Over the years, I've had a few promoters who have worked with me that literally turn to me and say, we don't know how to use you best. Please say what you want, say what match you want, say what stipulations you want, say the opponent you want. Just, best in this situation. Like, what's going to work for you. And I like to think I make anything work. But I think it's the same thing. If you are a promoter who's not necessarily super turned onto that style or super understanding of what that particular talent is doing and is why it's going to work for them, it's very difficult to put them in a position on your card where it will enhance not only your show, but also the person that's doing it. So I think that's a very important thing to start to come to terms with as promoters, because I love wrestling. Yeah, I've been doing it for a while. I wouldn't be if I didn't. My goal was never to get out to America. My goal was always to get out to Japan. Now I've succeeded that I can do whatever. I'm happy. But that American style is great for drawing the attention of the casual person. The almost soap opera shenanigans that are going on with occasional intermissions of wrestling. It's fantastic for engaging an audience and getting eyes on it. You've just watched Supernatural on CW. Now you're watching EastEnders on Fox or wherever. It's a great thing for the masses. But when you get to that stage where you start to love professional wrestling and you want that more, like, I want this particular thing, I want this product, I want to see proper wrestling, for want of a better term. It's very rare that there are people that understand it enough to go, we don't have to do this. We don't have to show this particular style of wrestling. We can showcase this and people will still come to watch it.
Yeah.
It's got to be done in the right way. It's got to be done in a way that people will actually want to see and part with money for, which is why it's a business. But I think it's so important, even if it's just one match on the card is different. Show that.
Yeah.
Let people understand the rest of the stuff that's not really seen.
Yeah. Yeah, the technical side of it, yeah. Absolutely. No, for sure. I get that. And that's what is super important. I totally agree. And again, while we're on the subject of sort of like Jordan and Riptide especially, I wanted to get on something, because Riptide, again, having lived in Brighton, Riptide was like always like, and still is in terms of like the stuff they did, my favourite promotion. I put Riptide above all else in my mind, because it just has that special place for me. But I want to ask you about Mad Kurt, because the man formerly known as Curtis Chapman, because we had him on the podcast, and he said to us, which was brilliant that I didn't know, was that him basically becoming like this big star on Riptide is all down to you, because he said he just got accidentally booked at Riptide because you brought him along for like the first show, and then they just like kept him.
I still feel somewhat bad for this. But yes, there was a moment, it was, I think I had just had a match against Timothy Thatcher, who's a wrestler that I admire so much. I had a match against Timothy for RevPro. I believe Josh, who ran Riptide, had seen that match and said, we'd love to have you do something similar, show that style. And I was like, lovely, okay, I'm in. They put me against Roy Johnson. Again, person who's, everyone who knows.
Yeah.
And going down there, I brought along young Curtis Chapman, one of the trainees from the Portsmouth School of Wrestling. I was like, it's going to be a day, you'll see some wrestling, expose yourself to people, get in front of these guys. And then during the trip there, I thought, actually, why not? And we got there, and I just decided to bully them into letting him be my manager for the night, and he did a fantastic job. And then they had nothing else for us, so I just kept showing up and bullying them until they did stuff with us. I genuinely feel bad for that, because they treated everyone very well. And I was very open to pushing them into doing things I wanted.
I mean, it worked, because I remember you coming out with Kurt, and I was like, who is this? Because I'd seen you wrestle before, and I was like, who the fuck is this now, like, coming out with Gideon?
Yeah, it was, that's one of the things, before Japan, before everything else, I had a little mental break for a little while in wrestling, mainly because I was trying to do too much in too many different places. I like to feel everywhere I go, it's going to be something new that people haven't seen from me. So in RevPro, I like antagonizing people there.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah. It comes across.
Yeah. In Japan, I like not antagonizing people out there, and I like showing them a different side. In UPW, Ultimate Pro Wrestling, down in Weymouth, Yeovil, again, different. So I like to do a different thing in every promotion. So even if you see me one place, it's still different if it's a different promotion. Because I find that when people are on everywhere, then why would you go one place in particular? So I'd like to give people, like, here are the 20 different versions of myself that I can give you.
Yeah.
Which one do you like? Which, is the way it is. So yeah, definitely having Curtis, or Mad Kurt now, with me there at the time was a very deliberate thing towards that. Also Barbara, I'm not sure if you remember.
Yeah. I remember Barbara, yeah.
Absolutely. That was another one that I bullied them into.
Oh, was it? I didn't know that.
Yeah. He, bless him, Joshua James wrestles as, and fantastic, absolutely fantastic. He was showing up, helping construct the ring, helping do all that. It was part of the ring crew, and having known him for a while, I thought, well, he's at a stage where he needs to start being shown to an audience, get used to wrestling in front of an audience and getting opportunities. So I'm just going to bully him and call him Barbara and see what happens. And yeah, it went from there, which was quite nice.
Yeah, it was brilliant. It was fantastic stuff. It was great stuff. It's cool to know that, like, that behind the scenes stuff. That's really cool because I didn't know that. And for Josh doing great stuff now, but also like for Kurt, it must have been really nice to like have essentially like, because he said it as well, like for you to have sort of introduced him to Riptide, and Riptide at first been like, oh, we don't know what to do with you. For him to then get himself over in that way to become like that fan favourite, the one that I feel certain, having not known about the behind the scenes stuff, but I feel certain in saying that if COVID hadn't hit, probably would have won the title at some point in the next like year or so after that, because he was on such a roll. Like,
I wouldn't have been surprised.
It must have been so nice to like see that development of him there, because he really got over a Riptide.
Absolutely. I think that's one of the things that I like in wrestling, is trying to find opportunities for people, not just myself. Because again, I am lazy. I will sit and wait until someone calls me. If you are watching this and you are a promoter, you can get in touch with me. I will respond, but I'm not going to get in touch with you. So this is the way it works.
Pick up the phone. Make the first move.
You know, if I'm available that day, maybe. But yeah, having the opportunity to give opportunities, and not in a traditional sense. I've seen Andy Quildan for many years now, and due to the way he reacts to stress, especially in the week to a big event, there is no way in hell I was ever becoming a wrestling promoter. I genuinely am worried for his health in the lead up to the Copper Box. That's just speaking honest truth. I am genuinely afraid of what could happen if he gets too stressed. So I will never ever be a wrestling promoter. But what I want to do is, the people that I feel need opportunities, I want to help them get those opportunities. Whether they train with me or whether they've asked me for advice, it doesn't matter who it is. If I think they're good, I want to help them.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things.
No, I love that. And we've got a couple of fun features, like I mentioned at the top, that we're going to get into now. The first one is called Dishing the Dirt. And we're going to take another little peek behind the curtain here, because I'm going to ask you some questions. And because, again, as such a key member of the United Empire, I would like you to let me know which member of the United Empire you think each question most applies to.
Okay.
I'll say off the top, it's called Dishing the Dirt, but if I'm honest, most of the questions are quite nice. There's not really a lot of dirt to be dished. So these are all quite nice things. So the first one is, who's always the first one from the group? Like, who's always like the early bird? Who's always one that's like ready first, raring to go, like first one through the door?
Francesco Akira.
Yeah.
Shadow of a doubt. They very kindly put a bus on with New Japan, a coach, to take you to the next place. Without fail, he was on that bus first. Maybe the moment it arrived, he knew, and he was on there. It wasn't leaving for another hour. He was still on there.
Getting the prime seat.
Yeah, definitely Akira.
Love it. This is one, I say they're not all bad. Two of them are like a dirt, I guess. Two of them could get you heat depending on who you say. And we're talking we're talking, say, again, travelling or wherever you may be. Who has the worst music taste?
That would probably be me, I'm not going to lie. Not necessarily because it's bad, just because it's too eclectic.
Sure. What are we talking?
Yeah. While I was over there, I got very much into Japanese metal.
Hell yeah.
That was awesome. That going to Brahms, Beethoven, classical, Baroque, some pop in there, some funk, a bit of Red Hot Chili Peppers, R&B, any genre, and also not good stuff as well. We're talking, I'm not sure if, what's their name? I cannot for the life of me remember them, but there's a really terrible great band that I love. You can tell how much because I can't remember.
Yeah, clearly, yeah.
But Arab Strap, shout out to Scotland, Malcolm Middleton, who was in Arab Strap, then went and did his own thing.
Yeah.
There's I think there's a song called Conversations in Autumn and then a Year Date. It's one of the greatest songs to listen to if you know it and enjoy it.
Right.
If you've never heard of it before, it is a discoherent mess.
Gotcha.
And I absolutely love it. It's very good. But yeah, I have trash taste in some music.
No, that's fine. I think everyone does at some point, don't they?
Absolutely.
Everyone has a few, like, not even guilty pleasures, because I don't think you should be guilty about liking any songs, but like a few that people would look at you like, what the fuck are you listening to?
That is normally the reaction I get, yeah.
Brilliant. Who's the funniest? Who's the funniest member of the United Empire? Who's always the one you can guarantee will make you laugh?
Oh, that is tricky. I think every single person has gotten me at some time. TJ, the most consistently, he does both spot on and hideously embarrassing impressions of everyone. He picks up on your most insecure characteristics and will pull it apart perfectly. So that is amazing. He gets me constantly with that.
Love it. We need to get him on to show off some of these impressions.
Please don't. The world does not need to see them. Thank you. Okan, absolutely hilarious. Hanare pops me every time. Yeah, every single person at every point will make me just be on the floor laughing at points. They're all hysterical. Love it.
We mentioned Akira at the top, the first question. So this question is sort of the opposite. It's who takes the longest to get ready? Like either pre-show getting ready for the match or post-show getting on the bus. Who takes the longest?
Oh, now this one, I guess it generally depends. Like obviously your placement on the where you are and everything else. The people that I have seen personally be the latest. I mean, Mark and Kyle, they are absolutely wonderful. They know their stuff. They are the best in the world. I have seen them almost miss a bus once. That's all I'm saying. Like this is all I can base it on. Generally, like most everyone in the United Empire has like good timing. So there's no one that will be like, I will see you in 5 minutes and then 2 hours later they'll appear. No, it's normally everyone's quite good at like, we'll be here at this time, then we're here.
Yeah.
The getting to that time may be different depending on who you're talking about. But yeah, I think everyone's pretty okay in that.
Okay,
regard.
That's good to know. The next one's about food. Who brings the best food? Whether it's like, I don't know, some sort of like maybe like a pre-show meal or like snacks when you're in the locker room. Like who brings the best like food to a show?
Okan, without a shadow of doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there was a time, the first time I went over, they put on bento boxes for us, which was fantastic. Because I like not paying for food.
Always, yeah. Especially when it's bentos, right? Because
anything that I can get and survive on without having to pay for it, I am a big fan of. But yeah, they bring in bento boxes. The quality varied depending on where we were, but they were always lovely. And Okan always left with about 5 or 6 of these because they had leftovers. Like there was some that there were too many for people. They always made sure Great Okan gets the bento boxes. So wherever he goes, he will be given a lot of food, and it's wonderful. He knows all the people that want to take people out for meals. He will set you up with people who want to dine, talk to you, and everything else. He absolutely fantastic. We went to almost, I forget the term, I think it's like yashiniku. It's kind of like a Korean barbecue in Japan. We went to one of these places with a sponsor, lovely guy. And I just remember Okan turning across to me and saying, do you like offal? And I was like, yes, of course. So he's throwing down stomach lining, heart, lungs, liver, and absolutely beautiful. You want any food, just go with Great Okan. He's amazing at finding good stuff.
Nice. That's a good tip. I like that. The next one is it's the only other one that I think would get you any sort of heat, because we're not talking in the ring now. We're talking like we're talking shoot. We're talking out in real life. You're out in Japan. You're out in the streets of Japan. All the United Empire are together. Who has the worst dress sense?
Okay, again, I would say myself, because the other guys actually care. I guess what it means... I guess it depends what you mean by bad.
Well, but it's all subjective, isn't it? It's just what you'd consider bad.
Yeah. I think Jeff and I have a vaguely similar style. He's a lot more sophisticated about it than I am, but I like to call that dad chic. Very, like, the older end of the United Empire who dress like they don't necessarily care. TJ will, and always will, no matter how old he gets, look like an emo. So that's fine. Akira focuses so much on his appearance that it's... I don't understand it personally, but he looks great. Davis and Kyle look fantastic, whatever they do. Will focuses on it, not to the same degree as Akira, but focuses on fashion, so he looks great. NRA looks good all the time. So I think truly it would come down to me and Jeff. Not necessarily, like, maybe lowering the standards of the group slightly in terms of clothing, but yeah.
That's fair enough. It's good that you admit that it might be yourself as well, because like I know that in my friendship group I'd have to admit I have the worst dress sense. So like it's nice when people can at least admit it.
Oh, I'm trying to pull Jeff under the bus with you. It's very much a case that I have no clue what I'm doing half the time. So
love it. The next one, it seems sort of, I always say it seems sort of counterintuitive to ask a group of wrestlers, but again, we're talking maybe not necessarily in the ring, but like if you're out, I don't know what you guys get up to, but like if you're playing like video games or board games or something, who's the most competitive?
Akira. I don't even need to think for that one. Just Akira. I love him to bits, but holy Jesus. It doesn't matter what you're doing. It could be a friendly game of like basketball, just not even a game, right? You're just throwing the ball, maybe forming up into a couple of teams, taking the piss slightly. He will go full pelt, locked on, engaged, I must win. And I don't know what it is about him. The switch will just flick, and he is vicious, man. Like, in his desire to win, he will do nothing. It's crazy.
Love that. Only a couple more. The next one is, again, a weird hypothetical world where... Oh, no, sorry, I missed one out. I missed Bay out. It's the opposite end of the dress sense one. It's the opposite end of the spectrum to that. We're talking in the ring now. Yourself, Lord Gideon, you've forgotten your ring gear. You've forgotten your ring outfit for the night. But you're wrestling, so you need to wear something, and you need to borrow the gear of one other member of the United Empire. And we're talking, again, a hypothetical world where one size fits all, so it doesn't matter. Whose gear would you take? Whose do you like the best? Whose do you look at and you think, I could pull that off?
Oh, God. Now, see, this is tricky. I think I'd prefer it if it almost wasn't anything would fit, because then easy I'd wear Jeff's, because it would look amazing. I don't know. I'm not a trunks guy. I'm really not a trunks guy. So I think it would probably have to be Jeff's gear I'd have to wear, because there's something about it. If I'm not almost covered up at the top, I can't deal with it.
But again, that matches what you said about the dress sense, right? It matches that sort of style profile you both have.
It really does. It really does.
Yeah, fair enough. Continuing in this sort of like weird hypothetical world, every member of the United Empire is hosting a separate party on the same night, and they've all invited you, but you can only go to one of them. Whose party would you pick? Who would throw the best party?
See, now this is hypothetically, this is a mistake, because I am a tremendous introvert, so I will not be attending anywhere. But I think... I genuinely think they know not to invite me. But if they did, I don't know. Jeez, that is a tricky question, because I don't do parties.
No, I understand. As an introvert myself, I understand. Yeah.
But I think each of them would throw a fantastic party in a different way.
Yeah. You'd be on a webcam going to each of them. Just like, hi.
Yeah. I think like maybe 5 minutes in each location with the travel time required to get from each location. I think that would do me fine.
Lovely.
I think after that, then my energy levels would be gone.
No.
I wouldn't be able to deal with anything.
No, I understand that fully. Again, as an introvert myself, I've never connected with something so like smoothly. I'm like, yeah, I get that, because that's exactly what I would do.
Yeah.
No, I get that. And the final one, probably the most important question of the feature here is which member of the United Empire would you want as your partner in the zombie apocalypse? And it can be for whatever reason you want. It can be a sort of feed them to the wolves situation, or it can be someone you have to defend you, who you think will defend you the best, or an actual good partner where you can work together. It can be for whatever scenario you desire.
Okay, so I'll give two answers here. First one, Great Khan. Just because, like, it's the end of the world. If there's anyone I want to, like, hang out with for, like, 5 minutes more before I shuffle off this mortal coil, it's Khan. But, more realistically, if there ever was going to be a zombie apocalypse, I'd want to be dead instantly. Like, I'd hope the others survived, like, enjoyed their time. It's not that I'm lazy, I don't know how to build shelter. I don't know how to do, like, all of these things, like generating electricity, growing food. There's so much that you have to consider in that. I would just rather be taken out, like, the first scene of the movie, instantly just get got. Like, write me out, I'm happy.
It's really weird because Kid Lycos was our last guest on the show. And he said, like, pretty much the exact same thing. He was like, everyone's going to die at some point. Let's just get it over with early.
It's one of the very few things you'll ever hear me agree with him on. But yeah, absolutely. Like, any apocalypse style event, I want to be gone straight away. Like, take me out of the equation, please. Lovely.
Well, that leads us nicely onto our sort of like closing feature of the show. And again, we've learned a bit about your United Empire teammates through that feature. Now we're going to learn a little bit more about you. But this isn't about Gideon Grey now. This is a shoot. This is about yourself now, personally, what you like, and sort of a get-to-know-you kind of feature. It's called Anatomy of a Pro Wrestler, and it's essentially just what makes you tick, essentially. What makes you you. So, again, I'm going to ask you some questions, and you let me know what comes to mind. So, the first one is, what is your favourite post-show pig-out?
Oh, jeez. I'm particular to Nando's on the way back from London. Stop the Cobham services.
Oh, great services. Elite services, Cobham.
Absolutely. There's... yeah. I'd have to say, if it's on the way back from somewhere, I'd have to go for Nando's. If I'm close enough to my house, I'd have to go with a pie sandwich.
A what, sorry?
A pie sandwich. You take a pie...
And you put it in a sandwich. Yes, yeah. A Wigan kebab, I think it's called up north.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. That is a delicacy.
I mean, it is fantastic. It shouldn't work, but it just is brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What do you go for in terms of like pie filling? What's your filling of choice?
So I'm a mint guy.
Nice.
I like mint in anything. Chocolate. I don't eat chocolate, but if I do, it will be mint. So for me, the perfect one's got to be either a lamb and mint pie or your classic steak and kidney pie.
Nice.
Like either or both. Why not? Treat yourself.
Nice.
Get a whole loaf, trencher it out, put in 2 pies on top.
Love it.
Sorted.
Love that. I mean, like, again, you might like this, because I'm partial. My pie of choice is generally like, because I'm a football fan, I go to football a lot. So my pie of choice is generally a curry pie, because most football grounds do a curry pie.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah. And up in, this is what you got to try. So, like, if you're ever up north, Oldham Football Club, if they're ever playing when you're around, just go there simply for the food. They do this pie, which is a curry pie and a veg samosa in a roll.
Oh, that does sound great.
I think it's got, like, mint sauce on it as well, like mint yogurt. It's,
That is quality eating.
Yeah.
I'm big fan of that idea.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, like Wigan Kebabs, whoever first came up with them. Great name, great food. It's beautiful stuff.
It surprises me that more people haven't tried them.
No, it's incredible stuff. It's incredible stuff when done right, for sure. The next one is like your classic. It could even be the same answer, to be fair, because it's that good. But it's the classic, like, what would your last meal be? Your death row meal?
God. It depends on what I was in for. But I think part of me wants to go just classic, just a big steak, fries, potatoes, whatever, like just something bog standard. But if I had to eat something that was going to be more interesting, should we say, out in Louisiana, a little place called Mandeville, they had this restaurant that did a lot of fish near Lake Pontchartrain, and they did barbecued oysters.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah, it, like not slimy sauce or anything, but they were very like dusted in this incredible barbecue seasoning. They were grilled to just right. They were phenomenal.
They sound. It's your last meal though. You can go both, right? You can go appetizer, main course.
Why not? Why not?
Treat yourself.
I think it would be a struggle to stop me eating if it was my last meal. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, I'd probably go for those.
No, love it, love it. We talked about music earlier, so this one will be interesting. It's the song that gets you the most hyped.
Oh God. That depends on the day. Depends on like. So I've got a. I want to say I've got a condition. No, I've got a mental illness, which is normal amongst everyone, I'm sure. It's when you look into a lot of like the research on creative types and everything else, I fit the mold in that I have that very diametrically opposed things.
Sure.
That I love to hate things, I hate to love things. Everything that I like, I also secretly hate.
No, sure.
So yeah. It's very much a struggle of like what gets me pumped, because anything that will elevate that will also immediately have me testing it as well.
No, sure.
But yeah, I love Muse as a band. Radiohead's always good. For pumped, it's just anything with a good drum section. Like Queens of the Stone Age, No One Knows, Dave Grohl on the drums, perfect.
Yeah.
Just anything that is enough that way to like make my brain stop going for a while and just be like, okay, anything like that will be what does it for me.
No, I get you. That makes sense. I like that. The next one is the movie that I'd show the locker room. I always say like it doesn't have to be your favourite movie, but like the movie you think everyone should see.
Oh, God. Again, these are tough questions. If you
I've got to get you as a thinker, yeah. I've got to get you thinking.
Yeah. So, personally, I think everyone should see Enemy at the Gate at least once. That's high up there for me. But again, same with Battle Royale. Like, there are so many films out there that are just super good.
Yeah.
That people should watch. I think we may be having connection issues again.
Oh, no, it's all right. I think you went for a second there, but now you're back.
Ah, wonderful. Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Yeah, film is like a huge passion of mine. But yeah, I'd probably stick with Enemy at the Gate because I don't want to bore them with random subtitled film about Russian roulette in the city basement. Like, people don't need that from me. So I'd go with something more akin to that.
Nice. I like it. I like the reasoning as well. The next one's a bit of a throwback because it's your first job.
My first job? Oh, crikey. That is a long time ago.
I don't mean to age you. I didn't want to age you or anything. I didn't want to make you feel old.
No, I'm old as hell. It's fine. God, I think the first ever job I had may well have been working at McDonald's for approximately 1 week.
Oh, that long?
Yeah, I toughed it out for a while. I started work as soon as I could because I'm healthy. But yeah, I believe I started there. It may have been a supermarket. I was working for One Stop at a time in my youth where I almost died because a gentleman had a heart attack and almost came in through the wall. That was a fun time.
Sorry, what?
So I was working at One Stop and doing the Open, so I was in ungodly hours.
Right.
and there was a small car park attached to it, and the tills were located so that your back was to the car park essentially.
Right.
And it had a tiny strip of brick edging the car park going out onto a busy A road. And this gentleman unfortunately passed, but he had a heart attack in his car as he was driving down there. So inside, all I knew was that the lights went out and then they came back on. Found out only later he'd swerved, hit the wall, which would have angled his car directly to where I had been standing, and had gone shooting across the other side of the road.
Holy shit.
So that was fun when that happened.
Yeah. Fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, that's certainly a memorable job to have.
Yeah, that's all I remember about that job.
Yeah.
But
yeah, fair. I think One Stop or McDonald's, whichever came first, they're both sort of classic first, like, teenager jobs, aren't they, right?
Of course.
Get your foot in the door business-wise.
Yeah, just take home a paycheck.
Yeah, just some money, because you're like, oh, money, great.
Yeah. Little will I know how much I come to crave this in the future. Yeah.
That's the thing they don't tell you, isn't it? That you're like, you think a little is a lot back then, but then you don't realise how much more you're going to need.
Oh, yes. Yeah, unfortunately so.
Oh, the perils of getting old, isn't it? It's the perils of getting old.
I really love it.
The next one's the only other time you get sort of like a little deep on the show, because it's your greatest fear.
See, this is it's interesting. I phobias and everything else, they're all very like, it's weird. I used to be terribly arachnophobic until I decided not to be. I used to have terrible vertigo until I decided not to. So there will always be like certain things like that, regular fears. I will have a healthy respect for things, but they don't terrify me anymore. I think the only true thing that worries me is being locked in your own mind. Things like Alzheimer's, dementia, going through that doesn't necessarily worry me, but going through that and being aware that it's happening terrifies the crap out of me. Yeah. Just things like that.
Because that's the thing, you don't know until, like, obviously, you know, touch wood, obviously you don't, but like for people, because I know that like my grandma had dementia, but like you don't know until you're in it, right? Whether that's going to happen or not, like whether you're going to be aware of it or not.
Absolutely.
So I understand that is like a terrifying thought of like, what if I know that I can't control like what I'm thinking and like.
Yeah. And losing one's faculty, or even just being in a medically induced coma, but being aware of your surroundings. These things are the things that keep me awake.
The prison of the mind sort of thing, yeah.
Yeah.
I can understand that. Because I'm quite similar myself. It's very much like up here is it's not a good place. It's not a place where you want to be stuck. It's not where you want to be stuck.
No, absolutely. Without any distraction as well. That would be hell.
No, I get that. I get that. On the lighter note, though, the next one is your favourite animal.
Again, you're asking me these very tricky questions.
Wrestling's easy to talk about with wrestlers, right? This is why we put this at the end. We've got to get you thinking, get your mind working.
So I'm an avid animal lover. I love all animals equally. I was very disappointed recently, actually, to learn that the progeny of a peacock and a peahen was not, in fact, called a chickpea. And I was so hopeful it was.
That is upsetting. I didn't know there was such a thing, but that is upsetting.
I was heartbroken. But no, I think the duck-billed platypus. As far as animals go, you have to have a lot of admiration for something that shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
So, and I think their young are called puggles. I could be wrong on this.
That's adorable.
But I'm pretty sure it is. Their progeny are named something incredibly adorable, which I can't for the life of me truly remember at the moment. But yeah, duck-billed platypuses, duck-billed platypi are spot on animals.
That's a great choice. Mine, I always say mine is red panda. Mine's always been red panda. Again, just the adorableness of it all. Like, they just, like, they don't, like, look like they could be pets, and you know you can't have one of the pet, and that's what makes you want one more.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I fully understand that. Respect that decision.
Thank you. The next one is the next one again. It's another favorite. It's my favorite match stipulation. One of the few wrestling ones in this list. But again, like for the purposes of this list, like a singles match is a stipulation. Like any kind of match, it doesn't have to be like a special thing, but it can be a special thing.
Are we talking about to watch or to wrestle in?
Either.
Okay.
You can have. I'll let you have two picks if you want. If you have different answers for either, but
wonderful. Okay. To watch, I'm a big fan of just a straight up singles match between like incredibly highly skilled people.
Nice.
Like that, I'm happy. Whether it's tag or just one full match, doesn't matter what. Doesn't have to be the submissions only. Like I'm just a big fan of just show the wrestling and let it speak for itself. As for my favourite type of match that I'd like for myself, probably like whoever submits first wins.
Nice.
Like, just so you can tap out on the mat, get out of there quickly, grab your food, grab a shower. You don't have to do much work. That would be spot on by me.
Yeah, promoters like, I want you to go 20 minutes. You're like, no, I've got different ideas actually. You go in there, first hold, no, I'm out.
I have very rarely been asked by a promoter to do 20 minutes.
Is that another thing? Is that going to set the fear running through you? Like, shit, I've got to go 20 minutes.
No, so I accidentally did an hour once.
So how do you accidentally do an hour?
So I was going on one of the holiday camp shows, and the person that was promoting asked me to basically show the young person I was fighting against how to interact with the crowd, like get them thinking for themselves in terms of this.
Right.
And I kind of got carried away and just forgot about time and just enjoyed myself out there yelling at people. And then I got back and an hour had passed. So it was entirely accidental. But that was fun.
I've heard, you obviously wrestlers go an hour, but to accidentally go an hour is something. That might be the greatest thing of all. I feel like it takes more skill to accidentally go an hour than to go an hour.
The skill required to go deliberately an hour fascinates me, and I admire anyone that does it. But accidentally, that's just me doing what I do. There is very little skill in that.
I just think it's a skill to be able to sort of like what's the word? Sort of not babble, but you know what am I trying to say? What's the word I'm looking for? To like draw something out that long, like off the top of your head, like just keep going with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I was just in a fugue state. I don't know what happened, but you know, it's fine.
No, I respect it. I respect it greatly. We've got two final ones left. The next one is your favourite place in the world.
Oh God! Again, these questions, man.
It can be as big or little as you want. Like Scotty Rourke came on and he said his favourite place was his bed. So like
that is an understandable thing.
It can be any size, any place, anywhere, anything.
That's a good thing. It's tricky. I travelled a lot when I was younger, but I do think again my favourite place is just anywhere with good company that will take my mind out of my own head.
Yeah.
As long as it's not isolation, I'm happy wherever I land.
Nice, love that. And in terms of like maybe somewhere you haven't been, the final one is your dream holiday destination.
Space would be amazing. I've not really gone to the Scandinavian countries yet, so somewhere like Finland would be lovely. Get that kind of exposure. But going to the Philippines would be lovely. TJ's hometown. Just trying the food there would be amazing. But yeah, there's a lot of places I have been, a few places I haven't been. But it's kind of a toss-up. No, sure.
Two very different places as well, Finland and the Philippines. So like you got a nice mix there, depending on what you're in the mood for.
Hey, listen, there's good food everywhere. So
as long as you can find it. Yeah,
absolutely.
Love that. Well, brilliant. Well, we've only got one final question, and it's sort of become a new tradition on this show to have the last guest that we had on leave a question for our next guest, and so we've got a question here for you, and it's going to be taken very out of context because obviously that's the nature of having someone else leave you a question. But the question that you have been left, once I can find it, is Oh, this is a tough one. I remember thinking this is a tough one when they asked it. So, prepare yourself for this, because this one gets deep, actually, now that I say it. Okay, so the question you've been left is, do you think you're doing enough outside the ring to make you happy and fulfilled in what you're doing in the ring?
That is an interesting question.
I've sort of condensed it down because it was a lot more long-winded. Yeah. But yeah, it's essentially, you know, it's essentially, are you happy in what you're doing kind of thing. But
I don't think from a creative perspective one can ever truly be happy. Like, especially when you're trying to achieve the unachievable. You know what I mean? Like, when you want to have something that speaks through your soul as the indelible mark that you'll leave on the world, that you want to be perfect for you, you will never be happy, because you're always improving. Everything is like that. In terms of if I could walk away at any point, absolutely. I'm happy with my life outside of wrestling, that I'm happy in my life in wrestling. So yeah, I think I will never be happy as a wrestler, and I will never be happy as anyone, like, in a creative sense. I will truly never be happy. But in a self-fulfilled way, I was happy years ago. It's fine.
Love that. Love that. A brilliant way to end. A brilliant way to end. Well, Gideon Grey, thank you so much for coming on the Grapple Theory podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure having you on. I hope you've enjoyed it.
Absolutely. It's been wonderful having this chat with you.
Brilliant. Brilliant. Well, we always end each podcast by asking our guest to do one final bit of promo time for themselves. So if anyone's watching this and wants to see Gideon Grey in action, no matter where you are, whether it could be back at Resurgence in another show, or it could be at RevPro, or coming up to RevPro's anniversary at AEW weekend, or anywhere else in the country or in the world, if anyone wants to come and see Gideon Grey in action, why is Gideon Grey going to steal the show?
Listen, I am not going to say that I'm going to steal any show, because I don't care. I genuinely do not give a single worry if anybody in that audience enjoys what I do. I don't do this for you. I don't. Like, if you are coming to see me wrestle on a show, you are going to get what I give you. And you should be damn thankful for that, because you mean nothing. Absolutely nothing. These people, a lot of people go, oh, we pay your wages. I could give a toss about that. I absolutely could not care. You're coming, you're sitting down, you're showing what I show you, and you're going to like it. I don't care if you're excited to see me. I don't care if you're really disappointed that I'm going to be on a show. I'm going to do what I do, and you don't matter. So just sit down, watch. If you like it, who cares? If you don't like it, still don't care. But enjoy the wrestling.